Some dogs aren't just companions. They're highly trained partners in solving crimes like the K9 you're about to meet. Follow along as we uncover how this incredible dog tracks clues, protects officers, and helps bring justice to light. Detective Maya Ortiz had grown used to phone calls at odd hours, but the one that shattered her quiet evening felt different. The voice on the line trembled. A boy had vanished from a riverside park, leaving behind only a rain-soaked backpack and faint tracks in the mud. She slid on her jacket, clipped a badge to her belt, and whistled for Rex. The German shepherd bounded from his bed, eyes alert, tail steady. Trained for search and rescue, and for the darker work of crime scenes, Rex was more than a partner. He was Maya's compass when fear blurred her focus. Rain misted the windshield as they drove through narrow streets toward the park. Emergency lights pulsed against the fog, turning wet pavement into shards of red and blue. Officers combed the area, radios crackling, but their faces showed only frustration. A sergeant met Maya at the cordon. "Name's Liam," he said, scanning his notes. 7 years old. Father looked away for a minute. Kid was gone. "We found this near the playground." He handed her the backpack. Inside were a water bottle, a few crayons, and a lemon-flavored candy wrapper, sticky at the edges as if pulled hastily from a pocket. Maya crouched beside Rex, letting him sniff the backpack. The shepherd's nostrils flared. His body went taut with purpose. He glanced up at her, waiting. "Find him, boy," Maya said. Rex lowered his nose to the ground and began to move, tracing a scent invisible to everyone else. Maya followed, boots sinking into wet grass. They passed the swing set, its chains clinking softly in the breeze, then cut across a patch of reeds toward the riverbank. There, the tracks ended in churned mud. A faint impression of boot soles led into the trees. Maya swept her flashlight across the ground and spotted something half buried. A paper scrap folded in quarters. She tugged on gloves, opened it carefully, and read a single line written in neat block letters. "Every hero starts with a choice." The handwriting was precise, deliberate. Whoever took Liam wanted her to see this. Maya felt Rex press against her leg, steady, grounding. She tucked the note into an evidence sleeve and scanned the darkness beyond the trees. No sign of movement, but the quiet carried its own weight, heavy with challenge. "Trail's fresh," she murmured to Rex. The shepherd whined softly. "Ready." She keyed her radio. "Ortiz on scene. Child abduction confirmed. Suspect left a message. Looks like premeditation. I'm following with K9. Static hissed before dispatch replied, telling her backup was minutes out. Maya didn't wait. The boy's scent would fade quickly in the damp air. With a final glance at the swings, she stepped into the tree line, Rex padding close. Branches dripped rainwater onto her shoulders. The forest smelled of wet bark and river silt. Somewhere ahead a child might be cold, frightened, listening for footsteps that never came. Maya's jaw tightened. She wouldn't let Liam become another file in a cabinet. Rex halted, nose quivering at a spot where the mud met gravel. He looked back at her, eyes shining in the beam of her light. She gave a small nod. "Lead the way." Together they pushed deeper into the woods, unaware that the first clue, the paper scrap, was only the beginning of a far more intricate game. Rain clung to the branches as Maya followed Rex off the main trail and into the dense woods. Her flashlight cast thin blades of light through the mist, illuminating roots and slick leaves. Every step sank slightly into the damp soil. Rex moved ahead, nose close to the ground, tail straight with purpose. Maya trusted his instincts. He had a way of locking onto a scent as though nothing else existed. The thought steadied her nerves. They crossed a shallow gully, its stones slick with runoff from the earlier storm. On the far side, Rex stopped, ears high. He pawed at a patch of earth where something white gleamed faintly. Maya crouched and brushed away wet leaves, revealing a small sneaker, caked in mud but unmistakably child-sized. She bagged the evidence, eyes scanning the surrounding brush. Beyond the gully, the ground showed faint drag marks, as though someone had hauled a load through the wet grass. The trail led deeper toward the faint hush of the river. Rex whined, urging her on. She gave a nod. "Stay sharp, partner." Minutes later they reached an old picnic shelter, its roof sagging under moss. A plastic cup lay overturned on a bench, rainwater gathered inside. Near it sat another folded scrap of paper, protected beneath a flat stone. Maya slipped on gloves and opened it carefully. Chapter 1 was easy. Let's see if you deserve Chapter 2. A shiver ran through her. The abductor wasn't just playing games. They were orchestrating a story, and making her part of it. She studied the area. Tire tracks cut through the mud near the shelter, leading away from the riverbank. They were shallow but recent, edges sharp. She crouched, tracing them with a finger, committing the tread pattern to memory. Rex barked once, low but insistent. He had picked up the scent again, tugging toward a narrow path behind the shelter. Maya followed, muscles taut, aware of every creak of the forest. The path climbed toward a ridge. From the top she could see faint lights on the opposite bank, perhaps from a cabin or campsite. But closer at the base of the slope lay a small stuffed bear half buried in mud. Liam's toy. She recognized it from the missing child report. She picked it up carefully, brushing away grit. The bear was damp but intact. Someone wanted her to know Liam was alive, yet also to remind her how easily he could slip away. Rex growled, ears swiveling toward the trees. The sound wasn't a threat, more a warning. Maya stiffened, senses sharpening. The forest had gone unnaturally quiet. No drip of water, no whisper of wind. She slid the toy into an evidence bag and stood tall. "We're close," she whispered. Rex leaned against her leg for an instant, then bounded ahead, guiding her toward a bend where the trail disappeared into darkness. Maya followed, determined, every nerve alive with purpose. Whatever lay ahead, she and Rex would face it together. Moonlight spilled through a gap in the clouds as Maya and Rex climbed higher along the forest trail. The air thinned, scented with wet pine and river silt. Behind them, the park was only a blur of lights. Ahead stretched silence and shadow. Rex slowed, nose twitching. He veered toward a break in the brush where a narrow track branched off the main path. Maya followed carefully, flashlight sweeping the undergrowth. A glint of metal caught her eye. A small walkie-talkie wedged between roots, its speaker faintly buzzing with static. She knelt, turning the device over. A strip of tape on the back bore a single typed word. "Listen." She thumbed the power switch. A man's voice hissed through the static, calm and deliberate. "Heroes chase ghosts. But which ones matter most?" The signal cut out, leaving only the forest's hush. Maya slipped the radio into a bag, pulse quickening. Whoever had Liam wasn't improvising. This was a script. Rex gave a short bark, drawing her toward a hollow ahead. They pushed through wet ferns and found a clearing ringed by stones. At its center stood a wooden hatch, old but recently scraped clean. Fresh boot prints circled it alongside smaller impressions. A child's. Maya examined the hatch. Padlocked, but the hasp was bent, as if someone had forced it. She glanced at Rex. "Ready?" He wagged once, muscles taut. With a firm pull, she pried the hatch open. A faint glow rose from below, along with the scent of damp earth and oil. Steps descended into darkness. She clipped a spare light to Rex's harness and started down. The tunnel was narrow, lined with timber beams, moisture dripping from the ceiling. Halfway along, an iron hook held another note sealed in plastic. "Turn back or watch him vanish like smoke." Maya crushed the warning in her glove, anger sharpening her focus. "Not this time," she muttered. Rex's ears flicked forward. He tugged against the lead, eager to move. They followed the passage until it widened into a chamber where a single lantern burned atop a crate. Beside it lay a small blue jacket. Liam's raincoat. Maya eased farther down the tunnel with unsettling Rex care. Close at her heels. She picked the air smelled of clay and cold iron. Thick enough beyond to sting the back of her throat. Another tunnel. The faint ticking deeper. They'd heard above was louder now, pitch, sharp a faint and steady, ticking drifted like from a metronome, quickening somewhere in the dark. Her flashlight caught the outline of a heavy door carved into the packed earth. She tightened her grip on the raincoat. Rusted hinges clung to a frame. Whatever game the abductor was playing, she and Rex were closing in. A child's drawing. Stick figures under a crooked sun, whispered, leading her partner pinned to the wood with a bent nail. Liam's handwriting scrawled across the top. "Help me find the way out." Maya crouched, heart aching at the thought of him alone down here. She traced the uneven letters, then studied the lock. A sliding bolt, simple but stiff with rust. She worked it loose, nudged the door, and it swung inward with a reluctant groan. Beyond lay a low chamber lit by strings of old bulbs. Crates lined the walls, their lids stamped with faded military codes. On a central table rested a small cassette player connected to a portable speaker. A red LED blinked in time with the ticking. Rex growled softly. Maya pressed play. A distorted voice filled the room. Chasing shadows won't make you a savior, detective. Leave the boy, walk away, and no one gets hurt. She paused the tape, eyes narrowing. The abductor was watching, maybe close enough to see her reaction. Rex sniffed around the table, then padded toward an open crate. Inside lay a coil of rope, a half-empty thermos, and a tiny flashlight decorated with cartoon rockets. Liam's, without doubt. Maya pocketed the light and scanned the walls. At the far end, a corrugated panel sagged slightly, a crude doorway. Beyond it, she caught the flicker of something metallic. As she stepped closer, the ticking jumped to a rapid beat. Her instinct screamed, a trap. She drew Rex back, crouched, and spotted a thin wire stretched across the floor, connected to a timer fixed to a bundle of small canisters. Someone had rigged an improvised device to the passage. She exhaled slowly, forcing her pulse steady. Easy, she whispered to Rex, clipping his lead to a hook near the table. Working quickly, she traced the wires. The timer was crude, the detonator even cruder. Whoever set this wanted to scare, not annihilate. Still, a mistake could be fatal. She held her breath and severed the main line with her multi-tool. The ticking stopped. Only then did she notice faint footprints in the dust beyond the panel. One adult, one child. Liam had been led deeper after the trap was set. Maya unclipped Rex, gave him a reassuring pat. His eyes shone in the low light, calm but alert. We're close, she said. Together, they stepped past the disarmed device and through the panel into a second tunnel. A breeze whispered through, carrying the smell of river water and something acrid. Smoke. Faint but fresh. Somewhere ahead, a shadow shifted, and the echo of footsteps slipped away into darkness. The new tunnel curved gently upward until pale light seeped through fractured boards. Maya pushed them aside and stepped out onto a rocky slope above the river. Cool night air rushed over her, thick with the scent of wet stone and wood smoke. Rex sniffed the breeze, ears pricked. Below, the water glimmered like liquid glass, reflecting the moon. Across the current stood an abandoned mill, its roof half collapsed, windows black as empty eyes. A faint wisp of smoke curled from a crooked chimney. Maya scanned the bank. 2 sets of prints crossed the mud, one broad, one small. They led to a weather-worn canoe tethered to a stump. The rope was still damp, dripping river water. Whoever brought Liam here had only just crossed. She crouched to inspect the craft. A small paper boat floated inside, folded neatly from notebook paper. Across the sail, someone had scrawled, "Last chapter if you dare." Maya slipped the boat into an evidence pouch, mind racing. The abductors' taunts were escalating, but so was their sloppiness. Each clue left traces. Rex padded closer to the canoe, nose hovering above a pale thread snagged on the seat, a strand from Liam's blue raincoat. Maya's jaw tightened. He was close. They skirted the riverbank, searching for another crossing. A fallen tree formed a narrow bridge downstream. The current hissed underneath, swift but shallow enough to wade if needed. Maya tested the log, then motioned to Rex. He trotted across, sure-footed even on the slick bark. On the far side, the trail climbed toward the mill. Its wooden walls loomed taller with every step, casting jagged shadows across the clearing. A lantern glowed faintly inside, swaying as if moved by someone passing. Maya signaled Rex to stay low. They crept to a cracked doorway and peered in. The interior smelled of damp sawdust and ash. Rusted machines stood silent under decades of grime. Near the hearth, a kettle steamed gently atop glowing coals, fresh, deliberate. Beside it lay a set of chains and a child's sock, folded neatly on a bench. Maya's heart clenched. She scanned the room, searching for Liam, for the abductor, for any sign of movement. A floorboard groaned above. Dust rained from a ceiling beam. Someone was upstairs. Maya crouched, whispering to Rex, "Time to end this." His tail swished once, calm but ready. Together they slipped toward the rickety staircase, steps measured, senses sharp. At the top landing, moonlight bled through a shattered window, casting silver across a hallway lined with old ledgers. Faint breathing drifted from behind a half-open door at the end. Maya drew closer, fingers poised over the latch. Rex leaned against her leg, muscles coiled, waiting for her signal. Whatever lay inside, they were almost there, and neither intended to back down. Maya pressed her palm flat against the warped door, feeling the vibrations of soft movement inside. She met Rex's steady gaze. His ears twitched, waiting for her cue. A breath later, she eased the latch and nudged the door open. Moonlight poured through a crack in the roof, spilling across a narrow loft. In its center sat Liam, tied loosely to a chair but unharmed. His eyes widened with relief the instant he saw Rex. The dog froze, waiting for Maya's command. Across the room, half hidden behind a support beam, stood a man dressed in dark flannel and work boots. A coarse scarf hid most of his face, but his posture radiated tension. In his left hand, a length of rope dangled. In his right, a small device blinked red, a trigger for something below. "Don't take another step," he rasped. Maya raised her hands, keeping her voice calm. "Liam's scared. Let him go and we can talk." The man shook his head, eyes glittering. "Talk? You've been walking my pages all night, detective." "This story ends my way," Rex growled, low and steady. The sound snapped through the room, grounding Liam's trembling shoulders. Maya inched sideways, putting herself between the boy and the man. "Look around you," she said quietly. "You've built a stage, but the audience isn't here. Only a child who wants to go home." For a heartbeat, silence reigned. The man's fingers twitched over the trigger. Maya caught Rex's eye, gave the faintest nod. Rex launched forward, swift and silent. He hit the man's wrist with pinpoint force, knocking the device free. It skittered across the floor and clattered against the wall. Maya seized the moment, diving for Liam's ropes and pulling him close. The man stumbled, then bolted for the stairs. Rex wheeled and chased, paws drumming against the wood. Maya swept Liam into her arms and followed, heart hammering. At the base of the staircase, the kidnapper reached for another door, and escaped toward the river. But Rex was faster. He lunged, teeth gripping fabric at the man's sleeve, holding firm without breaking skin. Maya closed in, cuffing the abductor with swift, practiced hands. She knelt, checking Rex for injuries, none. Liam clung to her neck, burying his face against her shoulder. "It's over," she murmured, steadying them both. Outside, dawn was smudging the horizon with pale light. Together they stepped out of the mill, leaving behind the maze of traps and shadows. The river whispered below, calm now, carrying away the last fragments of the abductor's game. For the first time that night, Maya felt the weight lift. She glanced at Rex, who stood tall beside Liam, tail thumping softly against the ground. Whatever darkness they'd faced, they had come through it, a detective, a loyal canine, and a boy who still believed in heroes. The first rays of sun spread gold across the quiet river as Maya guided Liam down the slope, Rex pacing close at their side. The night's shadows dissolved into mist, leaving only the cool hush of morning. Liam clutched Rex's harness, small fingers buried in the thick fur. Every few steps he glanced at Maya, as if making sure she was still real. She gave him a reassuring smile. "You're safe now, both of you." At the edge of the field, emergency lights winked between the trees. Officers hurried forward, their voices carrying warmth and relief. One of them scooped Liam into a blanket. Another crouched to scratch Rex behind the ears. The shepherd leaned into the touch, tail sweeping the grass. Maya stood back for a moment, letting the scene settle. All through the night she had moved on instinct, balancing fear and determination. Now, with the boy wrapped in safety and Rex content beside him, she felt the tremor of adrenaline fade, replaced by quiet pride. The kidnapper, handcuffed in the back of a patrol car, sat slumped against the seat. His game was over. He would face justice, and Liam would finally go home. A medic approached with coffee and a soft smile. "You look like you've walked through a storm," she said. Maya laughed lightly, the sound surprising even herself. "Feels that way." She glanced at Rex, "But I didn't walk alone." Rex met her gaze, calm and steady as if he understood every word. Later, after statements and signatures, Maya led her partner to a patch of sun-warmed grass by the river. She sat, stretching tired legs, and Rex lowered himself at her feet, head resting on her boot. Liam knelt between them, giggling when Rex nudged him with a wet nose. For a while they stayed like that, sharing a rare silence not born of danger, but of peace. The world smelled of pine and fresh water, and the sky was wide and clear. Maya reached to scratch Rex's neck. "You did good, partner," she whispered. He sighed, a deep, content sound. As the morning brightened, she rose and offered Liam a hand. "Let's get you home." Hand in hand, Detective K9 and Boy, they walked toward the waiting cars, leaving behind the broken mill and the long night. Ahead lay sunlight, a safe house, and a future untouched by the darkness they had conquered together.